There, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Purple Breakdown, a podcast covering the Baltimore Ravens. I am your host, Alex, and I'm so excited to be back here on another episode of the Purple Breakdown. Oh, it feels good to be back. I love this time of year as we're going into the combine, free agency, and the draft. This is time to get excited to be seeing the new guys coming into the league and what shakes up and what changes. And it's such a great time. I hope everyone's enjoying their Wednesday, middle of the week, getting through it. Almost there to the weekend and to everything else, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Ravens. And the big news coming out today really is the combine, the on-the-field workouts starting tomorrow for punters, kickers, D-line, and linebackers. So I'm really excited to see how that pans out tomorrow and what we see. But that's not what I want to start with today. What I want to start with today is, since Eric DeCosta's come out yesterday and said what he said about Lamar and Tyler, there hasn't been more news on that yet, since there's been rumors now spreading out about it, and I'm really hoping that both contracts get done here soon. I was reading today, and I was reading one of the interviews that Jeff Zrebiec did, and he brought up an interesting point that I really hope is not true, that there could be behind-the-scenes problems with Linderbaum and the contract going on out there, since he knows what he's worth, and we're offering him the biggest contract that we can offer him to try and, keep him there, and just say we are doing everything that we can as the Ravens organization to keep him there. And I think if they've really offered him a market-setting deal, he should feel that and should feel the understanding and the love to stay there as a Raven, especially if he's getting paid that much. I mean, I would straight up offer him the $20 million contract. But the Ravens really need to keep him around, and he needs to stay there as the center linchpin for the piece. And I hope that what Zrebiec said, that it's behind-the-scenes issues happening there with Linderbaum, isn't true, and that he feels the love and he was just waiting for this larger contract to get out there, and that he's discussing it right now with his agent, and that within the next few days before free agency opens up, we'll hear an acceptance, and that he'll be staying with the Ravens and being the center linchpin and the three-time Pro Bowler that he has been for the Ravens, and will win a Super Bowl with us. That's the ultimate goal. Outside of that, Jesse Minter also had an interview today with, I believe, The Lounge, and I got to listen into this interview. I was listening to this interview on my drive back from work, and I took away some big key points from this. One, yes, the interview process and how they got coaches. We've gone into that a lot. We covered that. What he dived into that I took the most away from was, one, that there's a history of playing at the Ravens, that there's a historic history, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and that players see this history and they respect it. But the Ravens, this is a new brand of Ravens football we are seeing coming out, that they respect that history, but they need their own version of it. And he specifically laid out 4 different key pillars, that I'm going to call them, that, like Declan Doyle with his pillars, Minter has his pillars that he wants the team to stand on. His first one was to play fast, to play detailed secondly, play connected, and play violent. And there's some connected dots between what all the coaches have been saying between Anthony Weaver, Doyle, and Minter. But I think these are 4 key ones. I really like that he's added in the fast and violent, because that's what the Ravens have been known for, is playing very fast, playing very violent, playing bully ball, punishing the teams that play against them, both on the offense and defensively. But I really like hearing this detailed and connected on the other side, because this is something that we've been lacking. The Ravens have been lacking this past year and into the year prior, where you see this both saw this defensively the past 2 years, and you saw it offensively this past year. And injuries hurt, but the team needs to know where they're supposed to be, at what point they're supposed to be. You need to be very detailed in how you play, know how to tackle, what your coverage is, where you're supposed to be going, who are you supporting, knowing what the roles of your teammates around you are, and executing. And that goes into the playing connected playing with your teammates. This is a team sport, not an I sport. You have to play with your team and be able to help each other. That if you can't make the tackle fully by yourself, at least tie them up long enough for your teammates to come in and help get that tackle down. Don't let players blitz behind you and you blow your coverage. When you're throwing, don't always try and be playing hero ball and chucking it all the way down the field. Take what's given to you and keep allowing the drive to live. That you have to play for your team. And this is the other thing that he stressed, that it goes into perfectly, that you don't get drafted or brought into the Ravens and just put on the helmet and go out and play. You have to earn that right to play. That's what he wants. Earn that right to play as a Raven. So going into this offseason, especially when training camp starts, I really think that he's going to be looking and stressing for players to strive on these 4 pillars of his, and that if you're not playing to the level that they're expecting, then you're not going to be the starter. You're not going to be getting as much time because you need to show that you can play like a Raven and be a Raven to be out there on that field. I love hearing this. This is what I want out of the Ravens, especially after what's happened this past year. The other thing that he went into was specifically about the draft and what they're looking here at the combine. And it's big things. I think it's important is that they're very confident in Eric DeCosta to do what he's always done well in drafting. And yesterday I went into the draft strategy of what they're looking for, which is drafting best available based off their needs. But they're looking for players that fit the skill sets and mindsets of the schemes and type of team they want to build. And those schemes and mindsets are going to be different than what the Ravens have been in the past under Harbaugh. It's an entirely new coaching staff. There will be a new way. Now, I think we're going to see a shift from Lamar running as much to maybe staying more in the pocket to keep him healthier as the season gets later, so he's not taking as many big hits, relying a little more on the run and being consistent there. Doyle wants to hunt the big explosive plays, so that's where I think Lamar stays a little more in the pocket and you use the run to open up those large plays. And then playing, I bet it'll be a lot heavier of a blitz package, showing lots of different coverages, showing lots of different upfront formations that then will shift on the line and go back in coverage, or secondary players coming down and blitzing. And so I think there will be a lot of different coverages that we will see in a lot of different schemes we're going to see on the defense that will be different than what we've seen in these years past, just because it's a new coaching staff coming in here. And I'd like to see it be at least a little similar to what Mike Macdonald has done. And this is very much what we went into yesterday. To win a Super Bowl, you need a strong offensive line and a strong defensive line. And that's where the Ravens are building, and I think they're going to start with by looking at building off those trenches, and that's what they're going to start with in the draft is how do we build the trenches? How do we add defensive linemen? How do we add interior offensive linemen and build strength up so that we can play bully ball the way that we want to play it? And that's why I'm stressing so much when we're watching here in the Combine. The big ones to watch now are going to be D-line and O-line. Specifically interior offensive line, and then the D-line edge rushers and the interior defensive linemen. And yes, still watch wide receivers and elsewhere and defensive backs, but the big primary targets early on I really think are going to be those linemen, both offensively and defensively. And so remember, you have punters, kickers, D-line, and linebackers on the field starting tomorrow. Defensive backs and tight ends are on the field Friday. Running back, quarterbacks, and wide receivers are on the field Saturday, and offensive line will be on Sunday. And informal interviews have already begun today. Peter Woods got up in front of the press today and was talking about his time here at the Combine so far. And he's already been talking with the Ravens, and he has connections with the team, with players that are on there now. But he's been talking with some of the coaching staff already and was just such impressed by the Ravens coaching staff and feels honored to have talked to them. And I think there's interest already there on the Ravens that are looking. And you know my thoughts on him, that he should be the Ravens' first pick of the NFL. Because it's an investment to make in the defensive line, no matter how Madubuike is feeling and whether or not Madubuike is back, you need to invest further in that D-line, because that's the recipe going forward defensively. If you want to win on the defensive side of the ball, you need such a strong defensive line that can constantly get back there and put pressure on the quarterback and force them to make the mistakes, and that makes it easier for the secondary. And so I love that they're already going and talking to Peter Woods, and I'm sure they're talking to others already that are there at the combine, and more news will be coming out about that. But tomorrow, focus on, look at defensive line heavily. It's a deep defensive line when I think it comes to the edges. The edges are a lot deeper. There's a lot more talent there. But the Ravens have their eyes set on what they want. And they're going to be specifically looking for that. They're looking for those coachable guys that have the right mindset and the right skills to come in and be coached up and brought to that next level to play like a Raven. So, I know this has been a short one, but I just wanted to get content out there again before we dive fully into the combine tomorrow, and I will be watching that, and then I will give a reaction to that starting tomorrow. But wanted to get out here, talk a little bit about Minter's interview today and some of the other news surrounding Linderbaum, and what, again, refocus on what the Ravens should be looking for. And I'm really excited to watch this combine.